Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, picture this. When an airplane goes down, the immediate aftermath is, as you can imagine, total, absolute chaos. But how on earth does the international community take that devastating, chaotic scene and instantly transform it into a highly structured, globally coordinated effort? Well, today, we're opening up the ultimate international playbook, Icao Annex 13, Chapter 5. This is literally the bedrock of global aviation safety, and it dictates exactly how the world responds when the unthinkable happens. So I want you to imagine this scenario for a second. Let's say an aircraft is registered in one country, manufactured in another, operated by an airline from a third, and then, tragically, crashes on the soil of a fourth completely different nation. Right? It's a massive, incredibly complex jurisdictional puzzle. With all these different nations having a vested interest, who legally takes command of the wreckage, the data, and the whole investigation? Who actually gets to call the shots? Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll figure out who is in charge. Second, we look at independence and absolute authority. Third, gathering the crucial evidence. Fourth, who else gets to participate? And finally, protecting the victims and the records. All right, Section 1, who is in charge? The jurisdictional rules. Because honestly, establishing command is the absolute critical first step in any disaster response. Now, to really understand these rules, we've got to define two foundational terms you're going to hear a lot today. First is the state of occurrence, which is simply the nation where the crash geographically happened. And then there's the state of registry, the nation where the aircraft is officially registered. In the weird and wonderful world of aviation law, geography basically dictates immediate responsibility. What's really interesting here is how Section 5.1 of the Annex sets up a completely ironclad rule. It states, and I quote, "The state of occurrence shall institute an investigation." It's definitive. If an aircraft crashes on your sovereign soil, you are in charge, period. However, it also smartly notes that the state of occurrence can delegate the whole or any part of the investigation to another state by mutual agreement. But that primary, day one responsibility, that starts wherever the wreckage actually lands. But wait, what if the state of occurrence doesn't actually conduct the investigation? Well, Section 5.1.3 gives us this brilliant, cascading backup plan. The right to investigate passes down a super strict hierarchy. First, it goes to the state of registry. If they don't take it, it passes to the state of the operator, then the state of design, and finally, the state of manufacture. It's like a massive safety net guaranteeing that no accident ever goes uninvestigated. The rules ensure someone is always going to step up to the plate. Moving on to Section 2, independence and absolute authority, specifically the investigator in charge. Let's see what happens once that jurisdiction is finally locked in. Before we even look at their specific powers, we really have to understand their true purpose. Section 5.4.1 makes a vital distinction, and the crucial point here is this mandated separation. A safety investigation is exclusively, and I mean exclusively, about finding causes to prevent future accidents. It has to be completely separate from any judicial or administrative proceedings that are just trying to assign blame or liability. Basically, we aren't here to put people in jail. We're here to figure out what went wrong so it literally never happens again. And to achieve that, Section 5.6 mandates the appointment of an investigator in charge. The mandate is incredibly powerful. It says they shall have unhampered access to the wreckage and shall have unrestricted control over it. This single appointed individual basically becomes the supreme conductor of this entire chaotic scene. Their authority completely overrides local red tape to make sure a detailed, immediate examination can actually happen. Which brings us to Section 3, gathering the crucial evidence. Here, the focus shifts entirely to locking down data with absolute speed and precision.
Sections 5.7 through 5.9 inject this incredible urgency right into the regulations. The investigating state absolutely must arrange for the readout of the flight recorders, the black boxes, without delay. They've got to lock down ground-based recordings like air traffic control audio. And, critically, Section 5.9 mandates expeditious and complete autopsies and medical examinations of the crew. Time is literally the greatest enemy of evidence here, and the playbook demands immediate action.
And that intense need for speed, it extends to public communication too. Section 5.4.6 enforces a strict 30-day deadline. If an accident draws heightened public attention, which, let's be real, almost all major crashes do, the investigating authority has to publish a written preliminary report within 30 days. This is absolutely crucial for managing public expectation, shutting down wild online speculation, and establishing a baseline of solid, verified facts early on. All right, on to Section 4. who else gets to participate? Because aviation safety is definitely a team sport. So who actually gets a seat at this international table? Well, Section 5.18 spells out exactly which nations are officially entitled to join in: the state of registry, the state of the operator, the state of design, and the state of manufacture. They all have the absolute legal right to appoint what's called an accredited representative to join the investigation. The host nation doesn't just tolerate these folks, they are legally obligated to invite them. Why? Because these specific states hold critical, deep knowledge about the aircraft itself, the airline, and the operating procedures. So what are these accredited representatives legally allowed to do once their boots hit the ground? Section 5.25 lays out a matrix of very specific privileges. They're entitled to visit the actual scene of the accident, physically examine the wreckage, grab witness information, have full access to evidence, and even participate in the readouts of the recorded media. I mean, think about it. That is a profound level of access into a completely foreign nation's sovereign investigation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the delicate balance Icao Annex 13 manages to strike. While these international experts get this deep VIP-level access, Section 5.25 makes it super clear that they do so under the control of the investigator in charge. So the whole system fosters incredible global cooperation and transparency, right? But it still keeps ultimate control firmly and legally with the host nation. It's really a masterclass in diplomacy.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Protecting Victims and Records. We're going to dive into why some of this information is locked away in a virtual vault of secrecy.
As outlined in Section 5.12, certain records are strictly, and I mean strictly, shielded from the public eye. We're talking cockpit voice recordings, the literal final moments of the crew, along with witness statements, private medical info, and draft reports. So why the dramatic secrecy? Well, it's a massive safety trade-off. Protecting these specific records ensures that aviation professionals and witnesses feel safe speaking completely openly and freely to investigators. They need to know they can talk without the terrifying fear that their words or those highly sensitive final moments are going to be leaked to the media or somehow used against them in a nasty lawsuit.
The actual text in Section 512 makes it crystal clear. The investigating state shall not make these records available for any purpose other than the safety investigation itself. The only exception, and trust me, it is a massive hurdle to clear, is if the designated competent authority decides that the need to disclose this information clearly, undeniably outweighs the likely adverse domestic and international fallout it would cause for this and all future investigations. Basically, they lock it down tight to protect the very integrity of global safety reporting. But amidst all these incredibly strict legal rules, the playbook never forgets the human element at the center of it all. Section 5.27 specifically guarantees rights to nations grieving the loss of their own citizens. A state that has a special interest because its citizens suffered fatalities or serious injuries is legally entitled to appoint an expert to visit the crash scene, get access to approved factual information, and receive a copy of the final report. So international law actually ensures that grieving nations are never just kept in the dark. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought. We've just seen how Icao Annex 13, Chapter 5 effectively forces nations with entirely different legal systems, different cultures, and often competing interests to immediately collaborate under absolute shared rules the second an airplane goes down. It really begs the question, in a world so often divided by physical and political borders, is aviation safety actually our most successful global language? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the hidden, highly structured rules of international flight, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.